Today on the Dandy Does It channel, I'm going to put the Dandy van up on ramps and change the Serpentine belt, tensioner, and pulley on my 2015 Chrysler Town & Country minivan. Let's get dandy. Now, as you can hear, my belt is squealing like crazy. Now, that usually goes away after it warms up, but this van has over 200,000 miles on it. I don't know if the belt's ever been changed, so today's the day. Got it up on the ramps. That one looks pretty good. And this side, kind of on the edge there, but it's not going anywhere. I'm pretty confident in that, so thumbs up. We pop the hood. That way we got more daylight underneath and we can see what we're doing. And here's everything we're going to need for the job. We have our 13 millimeter socket, which is going to be for our pulley. We have our 16 millimeter socket, which is the same as a spark plug wrench, and that is going to be for our tensioner. We have a 10 millimeter socket, which will be to take some of the splash guard off, and going to use that little guy right there. We have a breaker bar, which is also my torque wrench, and we have our kit with our tensioner, pulley, and belt. Now, that might look a little used to you, and the reason is because it is, but it was only on my last van that I pulled it off from for only 2 months, and this kit is from Gates. So since it was only on there for 2 months, I harvested it before the tow truck came and got my old van, because this thing's still got a lot of life left. So we're going to use it. We're going to go right under and in front of the front passenger wheel. And there is no need to remove this wheel, although a lot of guys do it. All we're going to do is come right up here and get to it. Oh, there is no splash guard. It's all exposed. I was wrong. Good. All we need to do is get the job done. Right there is our tensioner, and up here would be our pulley. Right there, you can see it. We're going to get those bad boys right now. Now, normally you'd have a splash guard covering that whole assembly under there, and you'd need a 10 millimeter socket to get off a couple of bolts to get the splash guard, and you might need a trim tool for where it kind of clips in, and then you just set it to the side, but we don't need to do that today. So we're just going to get right on the job. As you can see, our tensioner up there at the very top has a square hole in it. You're going to put your 3/8 drive in from your breaker bar, and you are going to flex that sucker back and loosen the belt, and then you're going to grab the belt off from around this round-shaped wheel right here, because that's going to be the easiest place to get it. I believe that's our water pump. Alright, so I've got it in there. I'm just going to kind of flex it back like that, and then reach up and pull that belt right on out. Now, I need both hands to do this, so I got to set the phone down. I've got the belt mostly off. It's hanging up right there, but that's okay, because right next to that's the tensioner, which we're about to remove and replace anyway, and that'll give me plenty of room to get that out of there. And off it comes. You want to save the bolt on this. You're going to need that. And we ought to be able to get that belt out without any issues now. There we go. And the old belt comes off. Let's have a look at this thing. At this squealy bob. Well, I'm not really seeing cracks in it. Not seeing anything too bad. Could have just been the tensioner making that noise, could have been the pulley, who knows. But we'll hold on to this belt in case we're out on the road, something snaps and we need it. And now to get the pulley. A little overkill, but the only thing I had for this socket that I pulled that was the correct size was a 1/2 inch drive, so I'm using my big torque bar breaker bar to get it. And our pulley is way up there. Listen to that. Yeah, I think that needs to be changed. And this big long breaker bar is just the perfect length for me to hang down here underneath all the action to slowly get this off. I think I might be able to get that by hand from this point. And out comes the pulley. And everything's going to go back the exact same way that you took it off. I got it started. Just remember, the pulley goes right above the big dog right here. So we'll just get it started by hand, and we'll torque it down here in a minute to the proper specs. I've noticed that a lot of the videos I've seen on this procedure, they do not tell you the torque specs. I did find one English guy doing this, and he gave the torque specs. He put it in Newton meters. I had to do a conversion, and then I noticed that he did actually put it in English as well. Okay, well, imperial. So that one's hand tied on there. We'll snug it up here in a minute. Now let's get our tensioner. And as you can see, there's the slot for our tensioner. And it's pretty obvious where it goes, but you do have to put it in correct. And if you notice, there's a notch right there. And you'll see a protrusion from the face of the tensioner. And that's going to sit right in that notch, and that keeps it oriented correctly. And I'm talking about this little protrusion right there is going to fit right into that notch. And here we go with the tensioner. I have verified that the notch is filled. Nacho! Just tighten that thing by hand, and we're going to come back with our torque wrench and torque these suckers up to spec. And then we'll put on the new belt. And no rattle when I wiggle it. Now let's tighten up our tensioner, and that goes to 30 foot-pounds. And that one is set to go. The tensioner is good to go. Now we just need to dress our belt. Now I'm going to be using both hands under here, so I'm not going to be able to film myself dressing the belt. I will film myself pulling the tensioner back. No, I'm going to need two hands for that too. So, all right. So what's going to happen here is there's a diagram. Just got to make sure you dress the belt right back the way it came off. Good to check your belts against each other, make sure that they're the proper width and everything, but this is no different than my last van, and this was already on my last van and worked fine, so I already know it's compatible with this, and it was already on this tensioner and this pulley, so I know everything is compatible here. So I'm not going to stress about it, but just for due diligence, let's go ahead and check the old against the new. They are the same width, same number of ribs. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ribs on the new one. Keep putting that in my armpit so I don't mix it up with the old belt. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ribs on the old one. Okay, I have my belt routed and everything the way it's supposed to be. Up over there, over the pulley, on the tensioner, and then over to this side. Over the pulley, and the pulley goes straight across over here, then down, and you just reach around, make sure everything's in their grooves properly, and the only thing left should be the water pump. There you go. See how that doesn't have a lip? It's just smooth. The idea is we're going to slip that belt over it. So if your belt's coming up to just here and not able to get over it, that means you've probably routed everything correctly. Now you just need to use your breaker bar, take some tension off pull the tensioner with one hand and slip that over with the other. Then we'll come back and feel around and make sure everything is seated properly, and then spin it up and see what it sounds like and see what it looks like. Okay, Everything appears to be seated properly. Just want to come up here, feel everything, make darn sure it's seated correctly, feel up around absolutely everything, make sure that belt is in the grooves that it's supposed to be in, seated on everything. Come over here. Yep, that's good. One down here. That one's looking good. Around our big boy here. And up around our water pump. It all feels good. Let's go fire it up and see if our squealy's gone. The moment of truth. No squeal! And that is how you do the serpentine belt tensioner and pulley on a Chrysler Town & Country, a Dodge Grand Caravan with the 3.6 Pentastar engine.